Hello and welcome to another episode of Cavern Devlogs. What am I doing? Oh yeah, okay. So it's been a minute. Happy holidays. This past 2 weeks were sort of driven by the idea that I was attempting to release a demo at the beginning of February, but I realized it would be kind of a push to make that happen. Generally, I kind of tend to rush game development. I have a relatively strict timeline, but I think it's better for this game to push off the demo until a later time and really get the core of the game done and solid so that it really shines through in the demo. Because I think when people play the demo, if they can understand the core concept of the game, even if all the content isn't there, they'll stick around and check it out when it does drop. So I got started on a sound system. In my previous games, I've had a couple issues with sound. Namely, in Airstar, there's a lot of objects being destroyed at once, they all play a sound, etc. The sounds can sort of peak the audio and get all destroyed in the latter stages of the game. To combat this, sounds are put into a queue, and then the game plays them in order. And if the time between a specific sound being played and the last time that exact same sound was played is less than a certain threshold, it won't play it. So say there's an explosion and I have 5 objects exploding at once, it'll only play one explosion sound effect, but it'll attempt to queue up 5. This way you don't get this sort of like blown out sound errors, and it sounds a little bit better, and to the player you can't really tell a difference. I added a bunch of new objects this time around. I added a cobweb, which is a speed interact object, so when you pass through it, it slows you down. I just wanted to get a feel for sort of temporary interact zones, so if there's like a zone that makes you slower, a zone that makes you faster, that gives you more damage, less damage, I can have enemies that sort of spawn these in, or the player can spawn them in. Just a temporary stat modification in a specific area. I added different wall variations, so a gem wall and a bomb wall. So the bomb wall just explodes and the gem wall drops a number of gems. And I added that into the wall variants, so there's a chance that those will spawn as well as the cracked wall and the normal wall. I also added heavy spikes, so that's just a variation of the normal spikes that just take longer to destroy. I made a TNT hazard, which is this like drum or this box, and basically it's just like roulette. It has a, I think, 10% chance to be destroyed on hit, and when it's destroyed it explodes. This is cool because enemies can interact with it, so it's kind of fun. Enemies can shoot it, or slimes can bump into it and it might explode if you're running by or something like that. The other objects I added are the flower enemy. So the flower enemy just shoots 2 bullets in 2 directions and it has these little stars to indicate where they're going to go. And the bullets are just hostile fire bullets. So they deal 1 damage, 1 fire damage, and then they act essentially the same as the player bullet. If the player unlocks the ability to swap these bullets into something else, they not only can aim them if they're spawning them, but if they're swapping them into something else, the flowers become kind of a object generator, which I think is very interesting. So a flower can shoot a bullet, you can turn it into a bomb, and then that'll blow up terrain, and then the flower can shoot another bullet, and it'll go, if it's in the same direction, it'll go farther because there's no terrain there anymore, and you can repeat the process to sort of like carve paths through the terrain. The final object I added here is the cave instruments. The idea here is that I went caving one time, and it was sort of to collect data at these different logging stations, and basically it was just like an evaporimeter and a thermometer, and you just check the temperature of the area and the amount of evaporation, and then you log it over time. I'm not really sure what they're using that data for, but the idea here is that I can implement that in my game. So thematically, it makes sense that you're sort of traversing into the cave to collect data at these logging stations. And then what the logging stations do is they will reveal anomalies to the player, and they will also grant the player another swap ability. And this will be player character specific. I think this is a good way to do it because you also have to sort of traverse to the instruments to interact with them. And sometimes you might miss them, or it'll be hard to get to or dangerous. So there's like more incentive for a player to stick around and explore a level. These will spawn every 3 floors, and then I'm thinking there will be a boss every 15 floors. The floors are relatively quick. Hopefully there's small little interesting things to do on each floor. My plan is to spawn a chest with like a player upgrade, which whether it's like deal more damage or have like more health, things like that, sort of like normal roguelike upgrades. Those will happen every other floor, and they'll be in a locked chest that you'll have to open. Basically, the mandatory objects, the cave instruments, the ladder, the floor key, and the player, and then eventually the unlockable chest with upgrades, those will be on set floors. For the cave instruments, I had to set up this little menu. It just presents you with 3 options, and those options develop over the course of the game. So, for example, you won't be able to swap anything into the player, or you won't be able to swap walls at the beginning, because then it just sort of frees up the game. But you'll be able to have choice things to swap that can help you in the short term as you progress. And as I make more enemies and more objects and more variations, this menu will be sort of more important. This week, Airstar is on sale, I believe, and Bunny Hill is just wrapping up a sale. So if you'd like to support me, check out my games. You can find them all on my website. Please, if you'd like to, join the Discord. And if you just want to keep seeing these videos, make sure to subscribe and like the video and comment on the video, you know, all that crap. Also, my buddy Calvin is making a game. I did a game jam with him a while ago called Grumbo's Map. It was like a 3D platformer. The video for that is up on the channel. But also, he's making a game called A Quest to Be the Best. It's a super cool card-based auto battler, so you get items, get upgrades, and you pick a class, and then your character fights against the database of every other character that's ever been created. So you're sort of in this like global ring of champions, and you have to sort of figure out the best build to make it the furthest. I think it's a really cool concept, really well executed, and he's trying to test it out and get feedback and make the game better. So I'm helping make some art for the game, so if you want to check it out, definitely I'll link that in the description as well, but send some comments Calvin's way. Thanks for watching again. I'll be back in a week, hopefully with more exciting news and content. Peace.